Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the 10 to 100 Solana challenge, where we try to flip NFTs and make our way from 10 Solana all the way up to 100 Solana without doing any sort of whitelist mints and stuff like that, because it wouldn't really be fair, because I do have kind of an unfair advantage where I could get whitelist easier for some projects because I have like a following on YouTube and Twitter, so it wouldn't be fair. Only public mints and secondary trades in this challenge. So I got my coffee and I'm ready to share these trades with you guys. Basically, last episode we ended on 21 Solana, so that's where we started off. In this episode we made some good trades, we made some bad trades in this episode, but no matter if we have a good episode or a horrible episode, I will be here every single second week and share everything with you guys because I want to make it as transparent as possible. So if you appreciate that and like this series in general, remember to smash that like and subscribe down below. I would highly appreciate it. The link to my Twitter and my Patreon is also down below in the description if you want to check that out. And with that said, let's jump right over to Magic Eden and take a look at these trades. Alright, so last episode basically ended on these Burrito Boys trades where we were able to secure some small profits actually. Now the first thing we did in this episode was pick up a couple of these sick boys. We picked up two of them for 0.7 Solana. We were able to sell one for 0.95 shortly after for like a small 0.1 or 0.15 profit on that one, but then they basically dumped right after that. So on the last one we took a fat L and sold that one for 0.28. so in general on the sick boys we did lose a small amount of money, unfortunately. Now the next thing we did was basically buy one Oasis Civilization as well as one Carton Kits. This was basically right after they got listed on Magic Eden. They had a ton of hype, so you know, I jumped in trying to make a quick flip on them. Didn't really work out the way I hoped, but it is what it is. Sometimes you take L's. Now the next thing we did was basically pick up two of these ghost kids right here. So shout out to Corrupt over in my Patreon Discord because he actually showed these to me. So I picked up one for 0.55 and another for 0.45. We sold them quickly after, one for 0.85 and another for 1.19. So in total on those we basically made almost 1 Solana profit, which I'm super happy with, of course, even though these guys ran up to like 4 Solana floor, which is crazy. So could have made a lot more money on them, but it is what it is. I did actually pick up a couple of these over in my private portfolio as well that I just held a bit longer, so I was able to sell one for like 3.5 or something over in my private portfolio, but unfortunately we weren't able to do that in the 10 to 100 account. Alright, we then sold our last Gates of Imaginarium that we have been holding for quite a while for 0.49 Solana. I believe we picked this up for just over 1, so made a loss on that one, made another loss on both Carton Kits and Oasis Civilization, basically because I bought in right after they launched. They had a ton of hype, a ton of activity. Unfortunately, seems like I bought in at the top. I was trying to make a quick flip, but I bought in at the top apparently. Ended up selling this one, just cashing out at 2.39 and the Carton Kits for 1.69. So in total on those two trades, I guess we lost like 4 or 5 Solana, which is pretty horrible when all you have is like 20 Solana. So unfortunately made an L on that, but thankfully we made a solid trade on the Northman. Basically a couple of hours after the Northman launched and got listed on Magic Eden, I picked one up for 4.2 Solana. You know, the collection had a super low supply of only 1,888, so I knew that if they got a lot of activity, these guys could jump up in floor price really quickly, and that's basically exactly what happened. After I picked this one up for 4.2 Solana, they ran all the way up to like 14. Unfortunately, I tried listing one for 12.95, but that was already after they peaked at 14, so I wasn't able to sell this one, unfortunately. Ended up selling this one a bit later for like 8 Solana, which is still a super good trade, basically like 3.5 Solana profit after fees. Now, as always, I do share all of my purchases over in my Patreon. So after I shared this Northman purchase of 4.2 Solana over in my Patreon, another member actually picked one up at 5 Solana, and he was actually able to exit at like 12 or 13, which I unfortunately was not. So he actually made more profit than I did on this trade, but I'm super happy for him, of course. But the Northman in general was a really good trade. Then after that, we picked up one of these Junkies because it was another super hyped up collection collection. They got a ton of activity all of a sudden, so I picked one up for 3.69 right here. Then we decided to just cut our losses on the stone frogs, sold this one for 5.25. I believe we picked this one up a couple of weeks back for like 6 Solana, so took a small L on that one, but I just wanted the liquidity to be able to do some more trades here and there basically. So 5.25 for the stone frogs. And then the junkies that we picked up for 3.69, we were able to sell for 4.77 for a quick 1 Solana profit flip right there. Then as you can see right here, the Northman that we sold for 7.95 Solana. This was the one that we picked up for 4.2, so basically 3.5 Solana profit. And then we get into all of the degen purchases basically, because these last 2 weeks in this episode, there has been a pretty weird market, because during this episode there was basically the Luna and UST crisis, and you obviously know what happened there. Luna went to zero, UST depegged from the dollar, which basically impacted the entire crypto and NFT market. We saw the 24-hour volume on Magic Eden go from like 250,000 Solana all the way down to 80,000, and a lot of different collections dropped in floor price. It was really hard to trade, and if you were holding NFTs in your wallet, most likely they went down in price. But a couple of days after that, we did see the volume get back up, and we just went full degen into a derivative season. Basically, like every single derivative started pumping. We saw the Bored Ape Solana Club pump like crazy, up to like 30 Solana. And I tried to take advantage of this, made some good derivative trades and some bad derivative trades, because with derivatives, you basically want to enter and exit really quickly, because a lot of them do go to zero eventually. But I basically picked up 2 of these mutants right here, one for 3 Solana and another for 2.9. We also picked up 3 of these bored bears for 0.3 Solana and 0.37, and another one for 0.37. Now these mutants actually turned out really well. We picked them up for around 3 Solana, of course. We were able to sell one basically at the top for 5 Solana right here for a nice almost 2 Solana profit, and the last one for 3.41 for a smaller profit of like 0.2 Solana. So overall, really happy with that trade. Then we picked up some of these mutant bears for 1.5, and we were able to sell this one for 3.39, which I'm super happy with. Basically, we entered and sold it like an hour later, and then basically these mutant bears dipped back down, and I took advantage of the dip as well. Basically bought back into the mutant bears for 1.85 right here, and quickly sold that one for 3.11. So the mutant bears was another really good trade right there. Basically, you always want to stay active once doing these short-term trades. So I entered at 1.4 for the first one. They pumped like crazy up to like 3.5. I sold it, and I was basically just waiting for a dip to be able to get back in. I got back in during the dip at 1.8 and sold that one for 3.1. So really happy with that. And then we basically picked up a whitelist token for Norios over on Famous Fox Federation and minted that. I believe our total cost for the whitelist token and the mint was 6 Solana. So it's quite a lot, of course, for a mint. But these guys didn't do that well as I would have hoped. I mean, they did pump up to an all-time high of like 7 or 8, but I wasn't able to exit at the very top. I was able to exit at 5.79 for a small like 0.5 Solana loss after fees on that one, unfortunately. Then we picked up some of these degen donkeys right here for 0.35, 0.35, and 0.37, just going fully degenerate on these ones. Unfortunately, these guys didn't get the same momentum as some of these other degen plays got, so these basically went to zero. I'm still holding these actually. They're worth like 0.05 or something. Can't even be bothered to sell them. And then we picked up some of these rejected beers because they also got a good amount of volume. They just got listed on Magic Eden. I picked one up for 0.25 and 0.18, and these actually looked pretty cool as well. It's obviously a dead rejects and OK bears derivative combined, and they do look pretty sick, so I hoped that these guys would do well, but these guys also went to like 0, unfortunately. Then we picked up one of these moon bears because they also had a lot of momentum. We picked one up for 4 Solana. After that, we basically picked up a lizard or reptilian renegade for 6.38. So apparently, reptilian renegade rugged. Like the entire team didn't rug, but I believe the dev like ran away with the money or something apparently. it was the same guy as Balloonsville. I don't have that confirmed as of right now, but it was pretty bad. So they dipped from like 20 Solana down to 6. I took advantage of it because I saw that they had a ton of activity still. So I picked one up for 6.4 and sold it quickly after for 7.29 for just like a small 0.5 Solana profit. But right after this, they basically went all the way back up like 12. So could have made an additional like 5 Solana on that trade. But unfortunately, I didn't do that. But at the end of the day, profit is profit. This was a pretty risky trade because of all of the FUD that they got. So I'm just happy that I was able to make profit on this one. So after we picked up the Reptilian Renegade, we also bought a Cardboard Citizen because these guys also had a ton of momentum. Got one for 2.72 right here. We do still hold this one. And the last trade we did in this episode was to sell our lost Stone Frogs for 3.69 just to get some liquidity back. I still like the project, but I have already been holding the Stone Frogs for weeks. And I can't really do that in this challenge because things have to move pretty quickly and need liquidity to make quick trades here and there. So I sold this one for another like 2.5 or 3 Solana loss in total, unfortunately. And those were the trades that I did in this episode. So as you can tell, we did make some decent trades, but we also made some pretty bad ones early on. So overall, it's been like a decent week. Nothing crazy, not super bad, but not good either. So now you may ask, Ragnar, where are you at? How much Solana do you have? We started this episode at 21. So let's do a quick rundown. So in our wallet right now, we hold still 3 of these board beers that are not worth anything. As you can see, the floor is at 0.08. That's the risk you're taking with buying these derivatives, that they could easily go to 0. We also hold our Cardboard Citizen that we picked up for 2.7, currently sitting at 2.35. So we are currently at a small unrealized loss on that one. Then the Degenerate Donkeys also went to 0, basically just a complete degen bet. And we also hold our Moon Bears that we bought for 4 Solana, currently sitting at 2.75, at another unrealized loss on that one, as well as the Rejected Bears that also went to 0. So, you know, some of these degen bets went to 0, but we were able to make some money on some of these degen bets as well, as I showed you guys earlier. So our total floor value in our wallet right now is 5.65 Solana. And if we open our wallet, we currently have 14 Solana sitting right there. So basically in total, we did lose money in this episode. We went from 21 Solana down to 19.5. So only a small loss of 1.5 Solana. It's been a really weird last 2 weeks because of everything that happened to Luna and UST. It was pretty hard to trade sometimes, but I did also make some bad trades myself. Like, I obviously take full responsibility of these trades that I do, but hopefully we're able to come back in the next episode and do even better. So I really enjoy making this series for you guys. If you enjoy watching it, do remember to smash that like, subscribe down below. Let me know down in the comment section if you enjoy this series, because I really enjoy making them for you guys. So I would love some feedback down in the comment section. Now with all of that said, link to my Patreon and Twitter down below. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.